Yo, I'm thinking maybe you should like do the intro this time.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm terrible at this. All right.
Go for it.
Hello, boys and girls. We are back with another amazing episode of the Forklift Certified Podcast. This is the second episode we're recording, and it's gonna be lit. So I am Joni, and I'm joined by.
Monolith.
Hell yeah. So how have you been, man?
Oh, I don't know, man. I've been up and down. You know, life is the way it is. You just gotta learn how to deal with it, right?
True. Very true.
So,
So I think today we don't have like even some kind of like I guess some topics to kind of get the stuff the conversation going.
yeah,
But I don't know. I guess we can share like how's it been for like the past week or so for us a little bit and see if something comes out from that. What do you think?
yeah, sure. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, I've
Doesn't
been,
have to be like anything. Doesn't quite have to be like anything like super personal or something. But maybe it sparked some kind of topic that we can expand. If that
yeah,
makes sense.
hmm. I'm thinking about like what happened last week. Nothing like specific comes to mind, you know what I mean? Something like
Mm,
all that interesting, you know what I mean? Just like
mm,
regular stuff. I've been kind of messed up, and I had to like get a present for one of my friends. I didn't have like time to like think about stuff, so I just had to like
mm,
do something that like wasn't that great of a fit, but it was still sort of acceptable. You know what I mean? It was one of those
mm.
like what's it called? You know, like the little balls on the string, the four balls, and you like let one of them hit the others, and it like keeps going.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like a pendulum thing or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. We're gonna buy one of those. Which is gonna be pretty
Nice.
nice. Yeah,
What is the name of that? I don't even know what that's called.
no idea, dog. Maybe like Newton's balls or something.
Oh,
Newton's nutsack.
yeah, Newton's nutsack, exactly.
Yeah, something like
That
that
reminds
probably.
me.
Uh-huh.
It reminds me like my girlfriend's anniversary is coming in like a month or so,
Yeah.
and I have no fucking clue what the fuck I'm gonna give to her because I'm not used to this stuff. I usually don't give gifts to anyone
Yeah.
or like rarely. So I mean, I have like like small ideas and stuff, but it's a new experience to be like, oh shit, now I have to like figure out what to do. Maybe I want to do something nice as well. Not just like a physical gift, but also like something some nice dinner or romantic night. I don't know, man. Gotta figure out that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've been making lists so that I like ideas, like small ideas, so that I don't forget in
Mm.
case like when it's like close to the date that I can start to figure out. Okay, maybe I can do this one, and that one, and then combine all of them into like a bigger thing. Um, but yeah, it's been I don't know,
Yeah. Awesome.
interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, like giving a good gift takes a lot of thought. You know, one time I did this like thing for my friend that we were walking past like a shop. You know what I mean? During the middle of winter, and he like spotted this sort of model version of a space shuttle. You know what I mean? And he was
Mm,
super happy about it. And then we just like sort of like moved on. And like this was 3 months before his birthday. I just like made a mental note. I'm gonna get him this. You know what I mean?
mm.
And yeah, turned out to be a really good gift. He enjoyed it and all that stuff.
Yeah, honestly, that's exactly what I'm doing as well.
Yeah,
Like I'm just like noticing like when we're at the supermarket or our store or something, and she mentioned something.
yeah,
It's like, oh yeah, I'm making a note as well so that I can maybe consider getting it or something like that.
hmm
I think it's a good way to go about it. Also, like I've been I started reading this book. It's called The Five Love Languages. I don't know if you heard about it.
never heard about it.
Um,
What's it about?
it's basically like there's this guy who basically um, created a system that kind of like explains that there's like five main ways of expressing love, and that each person has like a main, like one of those is like their main way of receiving and feeling love,
Yeah,
and then there's also a secondary way of getting that love. So, for example, uh, for some people, quality time is more important than receiving gifts. But for other people, receiving gifts is more important than words of affirmation.
yeah,
So
hmm
um, kind of trying to figure out which kind of how they work, what they are, how do they interact with each other, and how to know which ones are like the ones that we have for ourselves and the ones that our partner has and stuff like that.
yeah,
Because what happens often is that sometimes like people, couples, they try to, they try to, show love and have demonstrations of love in a way that it's not sometimes the one that their partner uh, it doesn't really land, if that makes sense. Like they might be applying a lot of effort and a lot of attention and dedication, but because it's not their main language, the partner just doesn't is not capable of receiving it in such a way, and appreciating it in such a way. It's like, for example, you speak you speak French and I speak Spanish. I might be like, there's a kind of mismatch there, even though like my intentions might be good, my actions might be good. There's some kind of miscommunication going on there, like and we can kind of like learn over time. Let's say, for example, that I learned a secondary language and stuff like that, and then I realized, okay, now I have like a primary language and a secondary language, and in that similar sense, love also expresses that way. And so, like the five love languages are, let me see if I still remember them, is words of affirmation, receiving gifts, quality time. Um, well, I'm missing on the other ones. Oh, physical touch, and I have to Google it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so you're looking it up on Google right now?
Yeah, I found. So the five love languages are words of affirmation, as I was mentioning,
Yeah.
quality time, physical touch, receiving gifts, and acts of service. So that was the one that I was missing.
Acts of
And
service.
so
Hmm.
yeah, so that includes, for example, helping someone, like when you're I don't know, when you're cooking, you go and help them, or they need some kind of assistance doing something, and then you go there and help them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You might be very busy, but you still have some time that you dedicate to help your partner, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then like I identified mine. So mine, for example, are the primary one is quality time, and the second one is physical touch.
Yeah.
Right. Um, but for example, uh, one thing that I like to do is with my girlfriend is like, for example, like I like to do small things. Like, for example, I bring her like a chocolate that she likes or something, or um, I do like small things like that. But I feel like it doesn't really land as well as some other things. So I'm trying to figure out what are her love languages, and I like this book has been nice because it's an interesting framework. Because the guy who wrote is like a counselor, a marriage counselor guy,
Hmm.
and he was working with like people who have like difficulty in their marriage, and then basically fundamentally boils down to like the fact that some people were expressing love and sharing love in a way that is not the one that their partner needs and grew up with, right? Because as we grow up, for example, like if your parents give you a lot of love in a certain way, then you might have a particular love language. But if you're grown up in a certain way, then in a different way, then the love language is going to be something else, right? So there's like a kind of way to like I guess recognize that for some people, like, and I had this friend uh, like a long time ago where we talked about this, and it was the first time that I heard about this, and then she told me like for example, one of her main one, I don't know if it was like her main one or the secondary one, but one for her it was like receiving gifts. And I always thought that like receiving gifts is also like is a bit shallow. It's like, oh yeah, you just want the stuff, and you know it's nice to receive a good ring or a good I don't know, that kind of stuff. That I was like thinking in a very superficial way.
Yeah.
And then she made me realize how that actually works, which is like, for example, when you know you're passing by the street and you see like a I don't know, a flower or a bracelet or something, like something simple that reminds you of her, and then you get it, like something simple, like you go on the street and you see like a I don't know, a rock, that she likes rocks or something, and you give her a nice rock that you found on the street, something like that. And those are like, it's a basically gift is like a representation of like I've been thinking of you throughout the day, and this is and I noticed this, and I got this for you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be anything like expensive or big or any kind of gift like that. It can be like very simple, small stuff, and that got me into like understanding the receiving gifts language a little bit more. So I haven't got yet to that part of the book, but the book is very nice, and yeah, it's been recommended in in many, I guess, like self-help circles or whatever, as a good book to learn about love and stuff like that. So I've been reading, and so far it's been actually quite interesting.
Awesome. So do you usually like read a lot of books, or are you more of an audiobook type of guy?
Honestly, not no one nor the other. To be honest, like I have a very hard time reading.
Yeah.
I like my mind just wanders infinite, and audiobooks is not really like what I really like is like video stuff, right? Like
Hmm.
a podcast with video, kind of like how like YouTube stuff, might be two guys speaking to each other, like the Diary of a CEO kind of podcast, or Dr. K interviews, that kind of stuff. That's like the best thing for me.
Hmm.
Um, but and outside of that is usually quite difficult. But I'm finding this particular book to be quite easy to be engaged with, which is interesting because it makes sense because it's like if it's like a topic that's you're actually quite interesting, then it makes it easier to read, right? For example, one of the few books that I read in my entire life was the Alan Watts The Book. Like the book is actually called The Book,
Hmm.
and it was like fairly easy for me to read because it was when I was starting my spirituality stuff, meditation stuff, and so I was interested in that topic, and I liked Alan Watts, and I like how he speaks, and I like how he writes. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna pick this book that I heard is like one of the best from him, and it's actually quite small. It's like quite short. It's like 150 pages or so. So I know I just a little bit before bed I'll read like 5-10 pages every day, and after a month I was or something it was done, and it was actually quite easy to read. And others I just get bored in the middle and I just can't continue. It's there's some kind of the way things are written or the topic, like the level of interest you have over the topic or something like that, that just makes it like either easier or more difficult for me. But reading is like I think it's the ADHD thing, man. I don't know. Like we're so used to like technology and stuff. Like I just can't read it. It's
Yeah.
very hard for me to read.
Yeah.
Also, I read super slow. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm very similar, but like I noticed for myself at least, having a specific time where I do my reading helps a lot with like consistency and like getting through books and all that stuff. I know when was working my first job, I had a commute which was like an hour in total, right? Like half an hour in one direction, half an hour back. And I would always like read during that time, and I managed to read a bunch of stuff actually. I managed to read like the entirety of the Gulag Archipelago on recommendation of Jordan B. Peterson, who I was like really watching a lot at that time. And I read like a bunch of other books like All Quiet on the Western Front, uh, Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha, and a couple of others as well. So I
Hmm.
noticed just having a specific time where you get to like focus on reading really helps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think I want to do it like I want to get the physical book. So right now I only have it on my phone
Yeah.
in PDF. I want to get the physical book and then start reading it a little bit before bed, just like how I used, just like how I did with the Alan Watts book.
Yeah.
And because I've also been reading a little bit my workplace when there's like some downtime, and I'm just like there. There's like not much to do. There's like maybe 10-15 minutes of like downtime. I try to read it a little bit,
Yeah.
um, and then when I commute, I usually go by bus, and like the road is like kind of bumpy and stuff. And when I read and it's like bumpy, my head starts hurting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't really read much, unfortunately, because that's like a good time, like you were saying, the commute stuff.
Hmm.
I have like a half an hour each way, like half an hour one way, half an hour back. That'll be like a good time to read, but just makes my head hurt. Like I read for like 5 minutes, and like I'm getting a small headache. Like fuck, you know.
Yeah. I noticed
So
when it comes to like hardcover books, like buying them and stuff, I make the mistake of I buy a couple and then I never read them, and they just like sit there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Same thing happened with like a book by Milovan Djilas, which is like a political book about like the fall and war that occurred in Yugoslavia. You know, really big
Hmm.
book, really interesting. It's like a biographical book. He kept a diary throughout the last days of the country and what sort of like transpired in his view of it. He was like one of the closest people to Tito, which was the leader of the country for the entirety of its existence, basically. You know, So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a really in-depth view. I really like it, but I only like read maybe like 20 pages or something, and I bought it like a year ago or something, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm also a bit concerned that that's the kind of stuff that happens with me, you know?
yeah.
Um, because I mean, I'll be honest, like I only read, I think, like completely, I only read like two books in my whole life. That
Hmm.
was it. It was the Alan Watts book, The Book, and the Portuguese book called I guess in English it's like Blindness from a Portuguese Nobel Prize winner.
Hmm.
And it was because I watched the movie. They made a movie about it, and I liked the movie. And then I had to do a Portuguese. Was when I was still in school. I had to do a Portuguese assignment of like reading a book and then talk about it to class. And I decided to pick that one because I watched the movie, I liked it, and then I was reading out the book. Seeing the reading version, the differences and how it was, and it was like a little bit easier to kind of visualize everything as well. And so it's also like a fairly short book. It's not like too big, like maybe 150, 200 pages or so. So those are like the only two books I ever read. Beyond that, I started a few and then I never finished either. Actually, one of them was also from Alan Watts, like The Way of Zen, which is basically it's like I don't know what to call a small encyclopedia of Zen. Is basically what that book is.
Mm.
Written in the way of Alan Watts in his own way. Like he will talk about how Zen came to be and how the relationship with Taoism, the relationship with the other forms of Buddhism. He'll talk about tea. He will talk about that kind of stuff. But it's different than the book, and I think for that stuff, and like the book is about non-duality basically, and the way of Zen is it's about Zen, um, and and yeah, so the way it was written, it felt like not so engaging, so I never actually finished. I read maybe like 50 pages or so, and then I had another book on psychology, like it's one of the most recommended ones, but I don't really remember the title or the author anymore. I know it has like a blue cover. It's like an old school book. It's not too big either, like maybe 150 pages or so. But I read it like 15 pages, 20 pages, then I never picked it up again.
Mm.
And I think I don't know what I've noticed. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm a very experienced reader or anything, but I've noticed that like if there's like a sincere, honest interest in it, like at that particular moment, then it's much easier because like we have the momentum of like, okay, I'm interested in this topic right now, and it makes it easier, right? Because for example, let's say I like, I don't know, let's say I like video games, right? But
Yeah.
maybe if I start reading a book about video games, it's not it's not going to be as easy because to like follow through because I've always liked video games. It's like a thing. It's like a general background thing of me that's like always there, which is like I like video games, right? But it's not like I'm particularly super excited about video games right now on this particular moment. So there's like a constant level of the background interest. So because it's not as intense as being super excited about it right now, it makes it harder to like follow through. But because like on that particular moment, I was like super interested on meditation and non-duality and spirituality and stuff. It was like the only thing that I was doing the whole day, all the time, every time. Then reading that Alan Watts book was actually quite fairly easy for someone who was like never read pretty much anything. Um, and so I feel like that's what's happening with this book for me as well. This world languages book.
Hmm.
Because like it's a topic I'm particularly interested like right now, and so it makes it easier to get involved with it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like it does. I wanted to ask you something. Yeah, about like retention. Retention of information after reading a book. How do you feel about that? Like, what's that like for you? How much of a book do you usually remember when you read it? Because I noticed for myself at least, I remember the stuff that I remember from a book are like very specific parts over a prolonged period of time. So like things that like really stuck out to me, like maybe like one sentence or like a paragraph. That's usually all that remains from a book, which might be like 300 pages long. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's like guides to like intelligent reading, quote unquote. There's this like one book called How to Read a Book. Don't know if you heard about that one.
Mm.
It basically goes over how to like go into a book with the intention of really figuring out what's going on in it, like asking yourself questions and like finding answers within the book to those questions and all that sort of stuff. It's quite
Mm.
interesting. I only like read maybe 50 pages of it, so I kind of failed, which is funny. But yeah, when it comes
It's,
to like,
it's a,
yeah,
oh, sorry. That's also a book. It's a book called How to Read a Book.
yeah, yeah, literally, it's massive.
I see. I see.
So yeah, how do you feel
Yeah.
about that stuff, like memory retention?
Um. Well, I don't know. Like I don't have much experience with like reading books, so I don't know like exactly how that works and how much I have it when it comes to that. But I think what is easier, I think I like it's probably like not. I think the idea, or at least for me, is like to get the point across, and then to be able to kind of paraphrase it if I need to, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it's different for like fiction books or something like that because I don't think I ever read well, that's not true. Like Blindness is a fiction book, but like usually I'm interested in like I guess I don't know what the category is called, but like self help or learning books or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what that category is called exactly, um, but and I think for those is different because like for example, if you read Atomic Habits, right?
Hmm.
Oh, also that's another one I almost finished, but I didn't. Yeah, I almost read that one. I forgot about that one. But like for example, Atomic Habits, you kind of get the idea, right? So it's different, I guess, in terms of like memory retention for those kind of books. Um, because like you remember the, like the 1% increase, the doing this habit stuff, the reformulation of like how you label it inside your head, this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I guess I think that those are like easier to like remember. When it comes to fiction books, I'm not sure. I'm not as experienced at that, but I know this very expert. This guy is like expert on memory. He was on the Guru Viking podcast. I don't remember his name, of course, but the guy has like long hair and very cool guy. And the way that he teaches memory, and he's like a competitor of he used to like compete and stuff for like for memory competitions and stuff. So he can like memorize I don't know, really long stuff. And the way that he would practice meditation was actually very interesting. You would use memory. You would memorize sutras in Sanskrit, and you would like repeat them again and again and again, um, and through memory,
Hmm.
And that was like his meditation practice was that. And yeah, like the way that he does it is like actually very interesting because I did a little bit of his. He has like a free course or whatever, and I just did a little bit of it. And he does it like what is called like memory map or something. If you like you visualize, for example, a building, like let's say or like your house, for example, you visualize your apartment, your house, or whatever,
Hmm.
and like each room is associated to a particular thing that you want to memorize. So you associate, like for example, the corner of your living room with a particular chapter on the book and stuff like that, and then when there's a certain association with it, you can remember, for example, the corner of your book, and you get into the habit of like, okay, the corner of your book is related to this topic, and so you get over time, like you get accustomed to like, okay, this corner of the living room represents this topic, and like you just never forget it,
Mm.
and then you do like memory maps for everything. You can do like a memory map for like stuff in your whole town, in your whole city, like the library is a library map for a particular book, and the supermarket is a library map for this book, and your house is a library map, a memory map for this other thing or whatever. And it's actually very interesting, like because I think I've noticed that, like if I visualize something and associate it with it, it's also much. If I try like I associate an image or something with text, it's easier. And then there's the emotional component, right? For example, if something's like actually very emotional for you, there's a very high chance that you'll remember it, right? Just like how we remember our traumas from like 20 years ago, even though they happened 20 years ago, but we remember every single thing. We remember what we were wearing, we remember the time of the day, we remember the position of every single thing in the space that the trauma happened. We remember who was there. We remember what was said exactly word by word. We remember everything because there's a very strong emotional component, right? So, um, yeah, I don't know, but I usually I think to answer your question, I guess because I feel like I didn't actually answer it. I feel like in terms of memory retention is like very varied, and it's not super high for me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you usually prefer instructional books or like fictional books, from what I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. I have not read many fictional stuff at all besides that one book that Blindness. I think it's what it's called in English.
Yeah, I'm the
Uh,
same. I sort of like heard the thing you mentioned about like associating images with like information. I've heard that from a person on a Discord server. She was talking about Wiccan magic. You know what I mean?
mm,
And there's these things called sigils in that sort of tradition, where they sort of associate the sigil with sort of some type of information. It sounded like really similar to what you were talking about, which is interesting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I never heard about that particular thing, but it sounds.
Yeah,
It seems like there's some kind of pattern, right? Some kind
yeah.
of pattern there going on. Yeah.
I think the analog in the Hindu tradition or like the yoga tradition is something called the Sankalpa.
Oh yeah, that's Sankalpa. Yeah, that's what is used in the Dream Yoga, right? Or what's
Yeah,
it called? I forget the name. Is it Dream Yoga? What is the practice called? Oh, Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra, right?
yeah, Yoga Nidra. So it's like, yeah, it's like a vow and commitment we make to support our highest truth, something like that.
Mm,
That's the first
damn,
result in Google that I just found.
that's a very deep. Uh, what's it called? Meaning behind it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting, sort of.
Yeah,
The
for
whole
sure.
like,
So, like,
hmm?
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like the whole sort of because when you think about like Yoga Nidra and all the sort of process of creating a Sankalpa, you have to be like in a certain state of mind, like very calm, so it penetrates deeply within your subconscious, so it can get like recalled more easily. And that's also like sort of interesting when you think about learning things and the whole sort of like pressure that we experience in daily life. There's usually not a lot of like calm there. You know what I mean? Not a
Yep.
lot of like place for exploration, things like that, which usually, in my experience, aids in learning. There's usually like some kind of like I'm repeating myself. I noticed that. Like I wanted to say pressure again. You know what I mean? Like there's this sort of goal which you have to sort of rush towards, and if you don't do it, then you sort of like get punished. For example, in school or at work, and those sorts of things. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. You remember that book? That not book. That video from Dr. K. I
Hmm.
think it's like how I studied to become a medical doctor, or from a 2.5 GPA to medical doctor in Harvard or something like that.
Yeah,
And he talks precisely about this, like how if the mind is calm, then the information gets retained much better than if the mind is agitated.
yeah,
So we'd recommend to, like, if you really want to memorize this stuff, do it in very early in the morning, because very early in the morning there's less stuff accumulated that you just naturally gather throughout the day. So if you do it at night, you have a lot of baggage that you've gathered throughout that particular day. It's going to make your mind more agitated. It's going to be more difficult to retain information, right? Or do it after you meditate, because then it calms your mind a little bit and stuff like that, right? Or I don't know. I think he said more stuff, but like that's the like the basic idea, right? That like when stuff is soft and calm, it makes it easier to penetrate. And if it's like too agitated, it's like a barrier that just cannot. It just keeps bouncing back, and not it doesn't actually penetrate. And yeah, I agree with that, and it has been my experience too. But you remember, like, for example, like there's like very vivid stuff. How have you ever seen like the movie from Tarantino called what is it called, like Inglorious Bastards or something like that?
yeah. I watched like half of it, I think.
Oh, yeah. So there's like this part uh where they're at the cinema, and they're oh, spoilers, by the way. Uh
Hmm.
and they're like they're at the cinema, and then they are in disguise as Italian guys, like the cinema with a bunch of Germans, and they are disguised as Italian guys, um and they have to pretend they're Italians, right? So this German guy comes to them, and she was like, "Oh, can you introduce your friends to this German lady?" And then, "Oh yeah, so they are this and this, but they are Italian, so they don't speak German, unfortunately." And then the German guy actually knew how to speak Italian, so he starts speaking Italian like very fluently and very rapidly and stuff. And the guys have no fucking clue how to speak Italian; they're just pretending they're Italian guys, so they don't know anything.
Hmm.
And then the guy uh like it's Brad Pitt the character is done by Brad Pitt. The guy starts responding just basic words in Italian with the thickest English accent ever,
Yeah,
and he said like grazie, he says like grazie.
yeah,
And it said like Arrivederci. He goes like Arrivederci, and it's like the funniest shit ever. You
Yeah.
just you cannot just not laugh because it just sounds like so fucking funny. And then it's like that's like a scene. I'm talking about this because like today when in the at this or not today like this week at work, I was working with this Italian guy, and the guy was talking about the different accents that people have, like when you have the French accent and the Italian accent and the English accent and all that comes up. And then we were doing a destination to Italy, and then he was like, he just brought this movie. I was like, have you ever seen Inglorious Bastards? And I think that's how the movie's called. I'm not even sure if that's how it's called, but ever seen like Inglorious Bastards? And I already knew exactly what he was talking about because that scene is just like hilarious. It's like too funny, to not remember. So I immediately knew it was like, oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the Arrivederci stuff, and yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is because there's like an emotional I guess association with it as well, which is like a happy. Like it was like a happy emotion. It's like it was a chill time. Your mind was like kind of chill and calm, and there was like a happy emotion, laughter, and so on involved with it. So
Hmm.
it's very easy to remember that scene. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. When it comes to like sort of remembering images with emotions, Tarantino strikes a particular chord with me. I only watched like Inglourious Bastards and I think Django Unchained and the movie Four Rooms. It's sort of like an older movie. And there's
Mm.
always this whole theme about like foot fetishes in his movies, and it really like bothers me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's a sort of a memory formation based on that sort of negative emotion. You know what I mean?
I see. I see. You've seen the Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I did see Pulp Fiction. Was that Tarantino as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm bad at movies. I like watch one movie maybe like once a month or something.
Oh, I mean that's more than what I do. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, there's like this period where I didn't watch any movies or series or anything,
Hmm.
and then after that, I only watched like really high quality, what I would consider high quality stuff. So like, I don't know, and it's like, I don't know, it's interesting when you're like when your mind is not constantly stimulated by movies because you just don't watch them for like a year, and then you go and watch a movie, and it's like holy shit, it's like you're eating candy after not eating candy for like 1 year.
Yeah,
It's like
definitely.
everything is like an explosion. It's like everything's just like infinite times better because you're not, as numbed down by just being stimulated by it all the time.
Hmm.
And when those movies, it made like a bigger impact, I think, because like that was when I watched Arcane, which is like a phenomenal show. This is one by League of Legends. It's like super, 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 super good.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I watched what did I watch? I think I watched the Fight Club. I watched Forrest Gump. I watched The Drive. Oh no, not Drive. The Taxi Driver.
Hmm.
I watched Drive too, but that was after. I watched what else did I watch? But I watched like all those movies, and it felt like holy shit! It's like so much better than if I would watching them when I was like binge watching stuff all the time.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not much of a movie person anymore. And when I do, I really want to like. It's either like I'm doing it like I'm watching it with like friends, so I actually just want to hang out with them. I don't really care about the movie, just an excuse to hang out with them,
Yeah.
right? Or or if I watch them with like a particular intent of like, okay, I really want to watch this movie because I heard it's nice and it sounds interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a
Yeah.
similar effect with like what happened with music, because it's like so freely available everywhere. Everybody's got like music on their phones. Like maybe they download it, maybe like they Spotify it. And back in the day, the only place you could listen to music was at like these big concert halls or like maybe operas and stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe in the 1500s or something. And it was such like a massive event. You know what I mean? There's this like gathering of like thousands of people, and they're like looking at this performance. It was like really like moving towards a lot of them. And like
Yeah.
yeah, when you think about all those composers and how highly valued they were back in the day versus nowadays, I mean, they still kind of are, right? It's just like kind of different. Or is it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's way different. Yeah. Yeah. Like you can't. I feel like it's like like when the something is like so limited like it used to be back then,
Hmm.
then you give it such a higher, like you actually listen to the music with really close attention, because this is the kind of thing that happens like once or twice a year for these people, you know. So like you're watching music live in a, I don't know, somewhere in some kind of event or whatever. Back in the day, it's like, man, it's like a very unique thing, you know. Uh, but now it's like you were saying, like the music is available anywhere all the time. It's like there's I feel like there's like a higher, like a smaller respect. I don't know if respect is the word, but like there's a smaller appreciation for it, right?
Yeah, it's
In a
like a
way.
commodity. It's like
Yes.
content, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of like
Exactly.
gets soulless sometimes. At least that's
Yeah.
the way I feel about pop music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of it
It's
sounds kind of samey. You know.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
And when it comes
Um,
to like music, I usually like the weird shit. You know what I mean? I like listening to Death Grips, 100 Gex, that sort of thing. There's this one
yeah.
band I found out from like a guy on Discord. It's called Mimi Death. It's not a band. It's like one person producing music, but it like sounds so insane. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It doesn't sound like anything that I've listened to before. It's like this whole sort of like mix of breakcore and like fast beats, like bumping beats and all that. You know, super
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Yeah. And I think I don't know. I think it's I think I don't know. I personally like it to I mean I feel like I don't even do it like consciously anymore. Like it just happens to be that way, which is like I just unfortunately don't listen to music as much anymore for like I guess a variety of reasons, but like one of them is that, like my good headphones that I used to listen to music with, they broke. So that's one less thing to like enjoy music with, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Then another thing is like my laptop is just not as good as my desktop. So like the sound card and all of that, which is not as good. And then I have like some crappy headphones now that just like they just the quality just like poop.
hmm,
And then I have less time as well. Uh to I guess enjoy it. I'm more like I'm distracted with other things. I guess that's the better way to put it. Other
yeah,
than I have less time, and then now when I listen to music, it's like holy shit! It's like feels nice, you know. It feels nice to listen to music because it's not as much of a commodity as it was
yeah,
like say a year ago, you know.
yeah, definitely. It's sort of like causing that deprivation helps you enjoy it more, almost.
Hmm.
Did you
Yeah,
feel that
like for
way?
example,
I can't remember
oh,
if that's the way that I felt about after like a meditation retreat. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean,
Like
it is
yeah,
for me. It is. I think that kind of stuff.
yeah. It's been a while. Maybe I should go again. There's one at the end
Yeah.
of this month. Maybe I'll go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
man. If
yeah,
you can, do it.
yeah. It's like a decent week with someone I
Yeah.
already know. Yeah. The whole thing about music, I have like a playlist on my phone which is over like 1,500 songs or something, and I always add ones that like really speak to me on like an emotional level. You know what I mean? Something I can like really connect with and relate to. And I
Hmm.
noticed that's like the process by which I usually add music. And like the latest one that I added to my playlist was this. There's this like TikTok of a small green wizard walking in a mall. Don't know if you ever saw that one.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and he's just like people are trying to catch him, and like the guy is following him almost like a third person mode video game. You know what I mean? And, like he gets
Mm,
kicked out of the mall. It's like super sped up, but there's this like tune in the background. It's sort of like this dark synthy music. You know what I mean? It sounds
mm,
like kind of medieval-esque, but there's also like this sort of bit crushing going on with the audio. And it really like sort of struck a chord with me because me and my buddies are planning to do a D&D campaign soon. And that's like the perfect sort of background music for that, you know what I mean? Just like
mm.
roaming around like desolate lands ready to fight some evil force or something. So I really enjoy that.
Sounds cool, man. That
Yeah.
sounds cool. You found it on TikTok, you said?
Yeah, yeah, it was like a video on like Instagram or TikTok or something of
Mm.
like a little green wizard. So yeah, I was wondering, is that like similar to you as well? Like, do you download music? Do you like sort of have a library, personal library, or is it just something that you like listen to sometimes?
Um, I I don't have like I mean I have some I guess some artists or something that I like, I guess.
Yeah.
But like for example, I'm more of the kind of person that like doesn't like artists. It likes some music from some artists, you know,
Yeah.
or something like that. And I have like playlists for. I guess they're not like necessarily for those purposes like that. It's like I don't know. I'm a little bit more loose, I guess, when it comes to that,
Hmm.
and it feels like it's like phases. So, for example, uh, like I really like drum and bass for like if I'm going to like a rave, if I'm going to like actually party, which is like a rare thing nowadays anyway. If I'm going to go on a rave or something like that, then that's drum and bass for me, you know. So I have a playlist of drum and bass.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like heavy stuff and also like soft stuff, like liquid drum and bass is like very soft and melodic and pretty and that kind of stuff. Uh, then I also have like emotional music or whatever. Uh, just like usually like it tends to be like electronic stuff, but like it's like soft and melodic and calm and whatever. You know, like stuff like Oleg Bionic or uh, I don't know, some kind of like progressive house, like melodic progressive house. You know, like some songs from Dead Mouse, for example, like the pretty ones or something like that. Um, and yeah, but like I don't know. I feel like sometimes I go like by it's by the spirit of the thing. For example, like I when I was playing a lot of TFT,
Hmm.
like the whole community listens to a lot of K-pop. You know, it's like kind of a it's like a meme. I don't know if it's a meme, but it's kind of like people like K-pop in that community a lot. You
Yeah.
know, and then I started to get into K-pop, and I started like, okay, actually, you know, I can see how it's kind of memey, it's kind of funny, but sometimes it's actually kind of good as well, you know. Uh, and you can definitely find like in like the dance, for example, the dances of K-pop are like really good, like a lot of them, like the choreographies and stuff, like the visuals of the video clips are very good, you know, and stuff like that. So there's like all that component, which is very interesting. Like the dances are like phenomenal. Like they dance like really hard stuff. Some of them, and it's cool to see. So I was like through a phase where I was just listening to a lot of K-pop. So there's all kinds of stuff, and then there was like a period where I was like looking to like jazz. So Herbie Hancock and all that kind of stuff, and then the classical. I mean, so it goes all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
And like rock, like I like Pearl Jam a lot, you know, that kind of stuff. Rage Against the Machine, and I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. So it's like a little bit all over the place, you know. But so to answer your question, I don't have like particular playlists of this or that, you know.
Hmm.
But sometimes I feel like, oh, there's also like this period of time where I was like just listening to video game music, like all of it, whatever, you know. It would be like Chrono Trigger music and Zelda music and Final Fantasy and all kinds of the other similar games like that. Um, and because like very chill, mellow, lots of piano, lots of you know those kind of instruments, and it's like very nice. It's very emotional. Near Automata, right? That soundtrack is like phenomenal. Um, so there's all kinds of stuff like that, but like it's so random. It's like when people ask me, "Oh, what kind of music do you like?" For example, I don't know what to say, man. You know, it's like yeah, I don't know what to say because it's like it depends. It's like I guess all of it in a way,
Yeah.
just like the fucking worst answer. But um, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of true. You know, it's kind of true. It's like I feel I really like that. I like the that aspect where I can appreciate any genre pretty much as long as I'm like I don't know, curious about it or interested about it or like paying attention to it in a way. Then I can appreciate like the pop songs and everything, you know, and the K-pops and all that stuff. But then I can also appreciate like jazz and classical and some kind of indie stuff or you know hardcore drum and bass or you know what it can it fluctuates so much. It's like it's tricky to like I guess respond in a conventional way. But I really like that aspect so that I can enjoy a lot of genres. I like that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing about like K-pop music is all those like K-pop idols get trained from like very early age in these like grueling conditions. Don't know if you heard about that stuff.
Yeah. It's tough. I heard it has improved a lot recently. It's not as bad anymore. I don't know if it's true, but but yeah, it's you know I know of all the stories. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like selected from like age like 11, 12, something like that, and then they get trained in dancing, singing, and stuff. And then
Yeah.
when they're like 16 or whatever, they get they join them and they put them in a band or something. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole like entertainment industry and how they treat like minors is fucking insane, honestly.
True.
Did you ever watch the movie Borat? Or no, it's called Bruno, actually.
Oh, that's the one from Borat, right? The guy.
Yeah, yeah, it's the
And I
same
never
guy.
watched it though. I never
Yeah,
watched it.
no, there's this like hilarious scene where he's doing like casting for babies in like Hollywood as a joke, and he's basically telling the mothers that they're gonna be in a car crash without a seatbelt, and they're like, "Yeah, you see, yeah." He was like asking the mothers, "Is he afraid of like high-speed collisions and all that stuff?" And
Yeah.
all the moms are like trying to like get their baby into the movie so they can make a bunch of money. They're like, "Oh no, no, he loves high-speed conditions," you know what I mean? That type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's really weird what that sort of culture does to people and how they like treat each other. You know what I
Agreed.
mean?
Agreed.
Yeah, you can see that a
It's very
lot.
toxic.
Yeah, you see that a lot in like the streamer world as well. The way that people interact with each other, it's sort of like all fleeting. It's sort of like always backstabby. People always conniving against each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of I don't know, fakeness, artificial personalities going on and stuff going on, and secondary interests behind the every interaction. And it's tough.
yeah. Also, like people
It's
who
tough.
have been in that sort of like industry from like a very early age, the way that it warps their perspective, I think is interesting because it
Mm,
basically leads people to develop trust issues by default. You know what I mean?
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Unless they have like a stable network in their own personal life, I guess.
that's tough. I mean, that's tough to do nowadays. I feel like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure some have it, but I still feel like it's actually kind of rare for a lot of those people.
Hmm. Yeah. My mind's sort of like blanking out.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've been there's this game called Borrow Trauma.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I got that one.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
How is it?
It's fun. I suck at it. I met some like cool people on it. It's interesting
Wait,
from like, mhm.
online or
Yeah, it's online. You can play online. You can play single player. But the online stuff
okay.
is fun because you have like a microphone. You're talking to people. There's like a local voice chat, and you're like trying to organize the submarine to make sure it goes through the depths of what was the name of the Europa, right? Like
I
through
think
this,
so. Yeah.
yeah, through the seas of Europe, and there's all these like sort of creepy monsters and scary things that can happen. So it's like super
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. I was thinking of getting the game because it looked really cool. Also, a friend of mine works for the company
Oh,
in Finland.
interesting.
Yeah, they're Finnish, and yeah, I don't know. It sounds interesting. It looked interesting. Like the the Steam page looks interesting. Has good reviews. Yeah, I don't know. Sounds fun. Maybe I'll get it. The thing is, like, can you run on my computer? That is the question.
Yeah.
It's always the question for me nowadays, man. Holy shit! Having
Damn.
a laptop without a integrated without with only integrated graphics from the CPU.
Yeah.
It's man, it's a whole other experience.
Shit. Yeah. There's this like other horror game co-op. There's like it's like tough to find good co-op horror games. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
one that I found which was like really fun is Lethal Company. It used to be like super popular
Mm.
a couple of
Yes.
months ago, and yeah, maybe I should get in
Yeah.
look into that one.
There's also Don't Starve. It's
Yeah.
kind of oldish, but
Yeah. Don't Starve. I used to play that a lot. Yeah.
yeah, those. There's also I think I don't know if it is, but Planet. Well, not Planet. What is it called? Planet Zomboid? No, what is it called?
Project Zomboid.
Project. Yeah, Project Zomboid. Yeah, is that one? That one seems really fun too, but I don't know if that's co-op.
Yeah, you can play it online as well with like friends.
Oh
But it's
yeah,
like really
nice.
brutal, you know. It's like very hardcore,
I
very easy
heard.
to die.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
That makes it more fun, no? That's like playing Dark Souls or something.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the
Maybe.
person, I guess. If people like the
True.
challenge.
True. True.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's too difficult, I also don't enjoy it, right? Like, but I mean, it's a single player game. How hard can it be? I don't know. That's what I think. It's like a bro. Like if you ever played online, like competitive ranked stuff in whatever game it might be, League or Call of Duty or Counter Strike or I don't know, whatever. But then you go and play a single player game. Like, how hard can it be? I mean, I guess it can be hard, but like, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, but I'm not sure about that in general, like as a general like sort of rule of thumb.
What do you mean?
Because there's some like single player games which are like really brutal. There used to be like one back in the day. This was like maybe 15 years ago or something. It's called I Want to Beat a Guy, 2D game. You can
Yeah.
beat it, but you'll lose your mind doing it. You know what I mean? It's purposely made to like troll the player.
Oh, it's like the climbing game, that climbing game, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Because well, the same thing about the climbing game. Just being good at like CS:GO does that like make the climbing game easier? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, get over it. I think that's the name of it.
Oh, yeah, getting over it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's like yeah, but I think I think like yeah, the skills don't translate, but what it translates is like the resilience, right?
yeah,
If that makes sense. It's like, bro, if you've been playing Counter Strike competitive and you're like high rank,
yeah,
you've been through so much fucking shit that like you know, I don't know, man. It's Counter Strike, man. It's so fucking bad and toxic, you know.
yeah,
It's like you can take everything, man. The world can crumble on you, and you're gonna be like, is that it? I played Counter Strike for 5 years, man. Nothing. Kind of like I'm exaggerating, of course. I'm like being silly, but
yeah, yeah.
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can take. They can send you to actual war. You'll do well, fine if you played Counter Strike at that level.
Uh, But yeah, I don't know. I'm just being silly, but I get what you're saying, of course. Also, for example, like I played what's it called, Elden Ring a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I didn't
actually.
like it. But
Oh,
well, one thing, what I didn't like it was the you know the controls are slow, are like clunky. Like you press the attack button and the guy goes like, "Ugh,
well,
cha." It's so fucking slow. It's like, bro, it's not. It feels like it's not responsive. You know, it's kind of weird. I
depends
don't like
which
those
weapon you're
controls.
like using. Did you like use a two-handed weapon, like a great weapon? Like what were you using?
Oh, I guess I don't know. I don't remember.
I
I
mean,
was just like the very beginning, like the first hour or something.
yeah, yeah. Because I actually played a little bit of like Elden Ring today. Me and my buddies are like playing a co-op mode for it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Super
there's a
fun.
co-op Elden Ring.
Yeah, it's like a mod, fan-made mod, stuff
Interesting.
like that. No, it's really interesting. The whole like, I'm really enjoying it. I like the Dark Souls games. You know, they're well
Hmm.
made. I like
Yeah, yeah,
watching all the lore stuff like Metivier. Don't know if you heard about that guy.
yeah. I heard the story is super nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very dense.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of content, a lot of like gameplay mechanics to like get a hold of. You know, really
yeah,
cool stuff.
yeah. Have you seen the? Are you ever played Fallout or you're a Fallout guy or whatever?
Oh yeah, I loved Fallout 3, and my favorite was Fallout New Vegas by far.
Not, yeah, yeah, same. Have you seen the TV show?
No,
Bro, they made a TV show on Amazon Prime.
yeah,
It's nice. It's quite nice.
yeah.
It's surprisingly good. Like you would expect, it's actually poop,
Mhm.
but it's surprisingly good. Highly recommend. It's like maybe 8 episodes or something, so it's not super long.
Yeah,
It's one season. It's nice. Would recommend. If you like Fallout, you'll enjoy that. You'll see a lot of like Easter eggs and stuff. And it's very interesting stuff.
gotcha. I'll have to check that out then. Thank you.
It's surprisingly good. It's like, you know, usually you expect stuff from video games to be bad because it's usually bad. Like
Yeah,
movies are bad and whatever they do, it's bad. But but that one is I feel like nowadays it's getting you know, you don't get as much bad stuff anymore. Like they made the cyberpunk anime, right?
I'm not
They
sure
made
about
the
that actually. Because like you
yeah.
only see the good stuff, because that gets popular, that gets traction, that gets showed up on like social media and stuff. I think there's a bunch of bad media we just like never get to see. You know what I mean?
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, you mentioned there's like not like a lot of bad stuff that gets made in regards to like video games, right?
Oh no, I mean the other way. Usually usually it's like always bad,
Yeah.
but I feel like recently it's been getting less bad. And with examples like Cyberpunk Edge Runners or League of Legends Arcane
Hmm.
or this Fallout show, I think it's getting a bit better. But it's usually dog shit.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Maybe I said it wrong.
yeah, it's usually like people which are completely unrelated to the IP trying to make money off of it. That's like the big
Yes.
issue always, and they don't know what the hell's going on. There was like this. There's this guy called Uwe Boll. Do you know that guy? You heard about him?
No.
So he makes movies which have the titles of video games like Resident Evil or like
Hmm.
Super Mario or something like that, and they're
Mm,
all usually really terrible. And people give them a bunch of negative reviews. And like maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, he challenged his critics to a boxing match, and three of
okay.
them actually showed up,
Okay.
and he beat the shit out of them because he like trains boxing and he's like a big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was like an
that's so
interesting
silly.
reaction. Yeah, it's an interesting reaction to have to negative criticism.
Yeah, sounds healthy.
Absolutely.
Uh, but yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, it's been a. I don't know. It's making me, but like this, the fact like there's been a few good stuff coming out. It's like related to video games, right? I
Hmm.
feel like it's like it makes I think it's making people like not automatically dismiss that it's like bad, because maybe it's not so bad anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Like this is like a massive grain of salt because holy shit, man, it's so much like the Mortal Kombat movies are all poop. The like the Max Payne movie is bad. The Super Mario, the Sonic, all of that stuff is like quite bad. Um, but then there's like these exceptions. Like Arcane is like top notch. Cyberpunk Edge Runners is top notch.
Hmm.
I think this Fallout is not as good as those, but it's up there, and also different because it's like a live action movie. It's not animated, right? So I think that makes a difference as well. I heard the was not really a game, I guess, but I heard the One Piece live action. It's good, but I never watched the anime or read the manga or anything, so I don't know if it's good.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I feel like there's something happening that like stuff is actually getting good somehow. I don't know if they're actually caring or if they're actually like some kind of giving some kind of respect to video games because video games is bigger than like the cinema industry and the music industry combined.
Wait, is it?
It's yeah, it's huge. It's super super huge. It's by far the biggest form of entertainment and the one with the most money, the one with the most revenue, the one with the most users. It's by far the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I guess people are they have to accept that. You can't celebrities are playing it. Your mama is playing it. Your grandfather is playing it. You know, LeBron James is playing it. Kanye West is playing it. You can't. It's not getting it. It's leaving that sphere of being a nerdy thing.
Yeah.
A little bit. So I guess the entire world is kind of accepting it and taking it a little bit more seriously. And I don't know if that's good necessarily for video games. Like probably not, I would say, because the quality is probably gonna. I feel like when stuff gets big and famous and popular and there's a lot of money involved,
Yeah.
it usually degrades the quality because then a lot of people come in with the interest of making money, not with the interest of making good games.
Yeah.
So
Well, but those
like
games usually
the
like
good
fail,
games,
right?
yeah, they fail, but it's like they make an impression, right?
Yeah.
They affect perspective on what a game is to the population,
Hmm.
right? Because like maybe some game is bad, but your grandmother is gonna play it and she's gonna have an impression on it. Maybe she's gonna like it or not, but it's different because
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff is coming out from indie games. It seems like,
Hmm.
right? The vast majority, uh, and there's still good companies like the Elden Ring one and I don't know, the Final Fantasy games usually tend to be good. The Mario games tend to be good. The Zelda games tend to be good. So there's still stuff going on there, right? But man, it's I don't know. It's certainly not what it used to be. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Back in the day when you had to like people, they had to like code a video game in, like, for like 2 megabytes or 3 megabytes back on the
Yeah.
NES and the SNES. And like the only people doing it were the guys that were really like into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually like companies were like very small, maybe like 10 or 15 people or something, just
Yep.
like doing something that they love, trying to like make something come into existence. And it
Yeah.
was like really nice to see. And I feel like the spirit of that still gets like carried on with like indie companies nowadays.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
And those are like our saviors.
absolutely.
And because and I feel like there's also a lot less innovation,
Hmm.
which is like technologically speaking.
Yeah.
Like I remember, for example, like let's start with. I mean, I guess we're gonna have to start with like Doom, right? But like when Doom came up, it was like the first 3D, or not the first, but like the maybe it was the first. I don't remember if it was the first, but like the like 3D FPS, like with Johnny Romero and Carmack, those guys are like who develop all the technology. Like they did it because they love the thing, right? There's like they didn't even know if it's going to be successful or whatever, or if computers can run it, or like, but they made it because it was like this is going to be cool, you
Mhm.
know. Uh, and then like over time, like for example, you had the technology innovation. For example, with the Cry engine, right? The one who made Far Cry and Crysis and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like when the first Far Cry came out in 2004, it was so heavy that like no computer could run it on max settings. There was just no hardware for it. Like you can play like a like a dual graphics card,
Hmm.
and they would still not be able to run it at like above 30 FPS consistently. It would still lag sometimes. It was the same with Crysis in 2007 because it's the same company who made it, right? So there was like a lot of interest in like innovating, like technologically and in other aspects, right? But like there was a lot of technological advance. Like I remember when the Far Cry 2 came out, it was like the first game with like dynamic fire. So like you had like you would start a fire in a little bit of grass, and the fire would just like spread all over the place. It would like burn the grass around and burn the trees, and then it would only stop when it reaches the lake, because it's water. And then, like if you have cars around, the cars will get fire at some point, and it will explode with all the fuel inside of it. And it was like amazing, to see that. Like the demo tech for Far Cry 2 was the most amazing thing I ever saw. Like like you had like the cars, like the cars run through grass, and there's like car tracks that get left behind on the grass, And I remember when GTA 4 came out or GTA 5, I don't remember. Like you would like your character is like pants weared, right? And then he goes into the sea, and the pants get only wet until the exact level of water that reaches the character. So, for example, if you get water to the knees, you will actually like with the let's say you're like at the shore of a beach
Yeah.
and you get your feet wet and maybe a little bit up to the knees. Only you'll see like the marks of the water only up to the knees being wet and up there just being normal, dry, and like that kind of and then you go a little bit further and then like it's a little bit above the knee that it's wet and those kind of like it's like a small stuff I guess, but holy shit, there was like so much interest in like evolving the stuff, and now it feels like for the past 10 years, like graphically speaking, most games look the same, like you can pick up like the I don't know like you go on GTA 5, it's still like super updated. And it
Mhm.
was like it's like a 10-year-old game, um that kind of stuff. It's like it's a bit disappointing. It feels like also the Moore's law stopped. Like the Moore's law was like what it is, like the technology advances like doubles in every.
Yeah, processing power doubles every 2 years. I think that was it.
Yeah, yeah,
Or like every
yeah,
year. I can't remember exactly.
yeah. So it just stopped like 5 or 6 years ago. It stopped. They just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, which I guess it's fine, but like there's just not as much cool innovation going on. I guess with the new Unreal Engine stuff, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Because have you seen that game that looks super realistic? Like you actually cannot tell it's like a camera recording it or an actual game because it's so realistic. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? I don't know. I don't remember the name, but
Uh,
it's like
the name of the game?
it's actually crazy. Yeah.
You probably mean like on record.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That one's crazy.
That stuff's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like that's what I felt like. Okay, there's some kind of new thing going on here
Yeah.
because this actually looks like improvement. This is like what Crytek did when they made the Cry engine.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's an interesting topic, sort of like video games becoming so close to reality that it's hard to tell the difference because it's almost like things are coming true with people like sort of complaining that video games were people making people more violent. You
I
remember
mean,
that stuff? Because it's
oh
almost
yeah,
like,
of course.
yeah, the thing is like, is that like gonna come true just because like it's really hard to tell the difference nowadays, you know what I mean? And like if somebody puts on
Yeah,
a VR headset and he's just like gunning people down in that kind of video game for like 24 hours a day, like what sort of effect does that have on him? You know what I mean?
yeah, true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I heard Dr. K say that like if humanity is gonna go extinct, it's gonna be through some kind of VR stuff because
yeah, he
people
was
will start
talking
getting
about,
all their needs.
yeah, he was talking about haptic feedback. So that's like when you can feel
Yeah,
touch.
Yeah,
And we can think about all the needs that people are gonna get met that way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. True. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So people, if you wanna listen to more hours of us talking about video games and innovation and all that sort of good stuff, tune in next time for the next episode.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Make
Peace.
sure make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff. So sell your soul to us in the comments below. Anyways, goodbye.
Bye.